Hello YouTube, my name is Fag. Welcome to my channel. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And here we go. All 7 mini consoles ranked best to worst. I thought it'd be fun for us to check out today. And away we go.
Hey guys, Metal Jesus here. Now, since 2016 and the release of the
What was his name? MetalJesus.
NES Classic, all the way up to today with the release of the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, there have been a lot of these mini consoles released over the last couple of years. And as you can see here, I have most of them. So in this video, I thought I would walk through the things I like and dislike about each of them, and then I'm gonna rank them. Let's take a look. I'm gonna start with the mini console that I like the least, and that's gonna be no surprise to many of you. It is the Sony PlayStation Classic. When this was originally,
Well, I can't hope he explains why he likes and doesn't like him. Find out if you guys agree with him or not, or yeah.
teased, I was pretty excited because I do like the original PlayStation, but as we got closer to the launch of it, it became painfully obvious that Sony was kind of just phoning this one in. And the problem was obvious because while they're calling this the Classic, it was a really weird mix of games. They had some really good ones like Final Fantasy VII and of course Metal Gear Solid, but where are all the other classics? You know, like the Tomb Raiders, the Wipeouts, the Crash Bandicoots. On top of that, they decided to include
I can understand that if you're missing a bunch of games that you liked. I can understand how that would affect your view or something like that. Especially when you can't put your own games into it, you know?
several PAL versions of games in here that ran at a lower frame rate. It was so weird. In this video, I'm not going to get really deep into the modding scene that has since taken over and been really popular with these mini consoles, but just know that after this was released, a bunch of people released mods and solutions that you could easily put your own games on here. However, for this video and the ranking that I'm doing, I'm really pretty much just going off of the stock retail versions, although there is going to be one notable exception here pretty soon. Overall, this is my least favorite mini console. Now, I do think it looks pretty cool, and it was awesome that Sony included 2 controllers, so that's pretty great. And some of the games they did include on here are
A lot of them only come with one controller. You gotta buy a second controller separately. So I can understand that part of it.
pretty great and still fun to play today, but it needs to be said that this again is the PlayStation 1. These are early polygon games. They look pretty rough on your big HD television. It would have been cool if Sony would have included some smoothing options, some ways of kind of artificially making some of these look a little better. Not a huge thing, but it would have been nice. Next up is the SNK Neo Geo Mini, and if you remember back,
The Neo Geo Mini. Now, I myself never used this one. If you guys have, let me know what you think of it. I'd love to hear your opinions on it.
back when this first came out, I was pretty hard on it. I was disappointed. So to start, let's talk about some of the positives here. I do really like how this looks. Out of all of the ones that I'm going to show you today, this is the only one that actually has a built-in screen, which is pretty cool. However, for some reason, they didn't include the ability.
Hello, Eddies. How you doing today? Just looking at the mini consoles. We're watching a video about ranking them best to worst. And then later on, I was thinking I might play a game or two, depending on how time is and stuff. But that's the plan for today. Hope you enjoying the videos and stuff. And welcome in, welcome.
For you to use your own batteries and truly make it portable. Well, I guess it's portable, but you know what I mean? You're still going to be stuck to having it plugged into the wall. It would have been cool if it allowed you to at least, have your own rechargeable batteries or something like that. And SNK released 5 different versions of this mini console. So if you're a big fan of Neo Geo, there's a lot of cool things to collect here. Just be aware though, each one of those has a slightly different collection of games that are included on it. And you see from this Wikipedia article here that, yeah, it can get pretty crazy if you want them all. And then 2 other things I didn't really care about this is that while the games look great if you're playing on that built-in screen, if you output the HDMI to your television, well, it's blurry. It looks bad and it's very disappointing. And then original...
I imagine that's because they got it set to that aspect ratio, right? So that screen's only what, 3 by 4 inches? So they got locked to the aspect ratio and output it. I imagine that's why it become blurry. Plus the modern LCDs and the 4K TVs, right? They have a different output variant than what those CRTs did that these games ran on, so they're gonna look wonky anyway.
Neo Geos are known for their clicky thumbsticks. That's one of the things I really love about all of their previous systems. And for some reason, they decided to not do this with the mini console. That's where that clicky thumbsticks are hard to make meme comes from. It's not a deal breaker because these games still play fine on it, but it's just disappointing. And as far as the game collection goes, I do like the mix of classic Neo Geo fighting games, shooting games, and running guns in here. So there's a lot to choose from. There's a lot to like. Moving on to the Commodore 64 Mini, or technically it's the
Another mini console I haven't used. If you guys have, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. What your thoughts are too. Now, let's go see what you have to say.
C64 Mini. Now, I was very surprised to see this because this is a classic computer, but gamers like me that grew up in the 80s, well, it was really also kind of like a console because all I ever did is play games on this. And so it was really cool to see a brand new mini version of it. And seeing that it is a C64, well, of course it comes with 64 games built into it. And that's where, at least initially, this kind of got a little disappointing, at least when it launched. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why it's a little bit lower on this list, because they couldn't really license all of the classic games that came out on the Commodore 64. Honestly, it's nowhere near the amount of classics that most gamers like me probably would have.
That makes sense, right? Because over time, companies change hands or go out of business. Then it's hard to get all the rights for the stuff that they used to have rights to. Because stuff like that does expire over time. And the Commodore 64 is so old. I can understand them having a hard time getting the rights to republish the games.
Have chosen to put on here. Now, what's interesting is that the developers recognized this shortcoming and released a free BIOS upgrade that allows you to put your own games on it. That's pretty unique and very different than the other consoles that are included on this list because you don't have to hack it. However, there's two things that keep this mini console from greatness and being higher on this list. The first one being is that it's a computer and therefore it should have a keyboard. And many of these games assume that you would have a working keyboard. And because it's a mini and because of its size, they didn't include a working physical keyboard, which...
So that could be a problem with those games, right? Because that keyboard doesn't work, how are you supposed to do the games properly? I can understand that being a little on the tier list for him. And for most people too.
Is kind of awkward in some games that want you to hit the space bar to start the game or maybe one of the function keys. So what they ended up doing to get around this is that on the controller, there's a button you can push to bring up a virtual keyboard that then allows you to go in and do what you need to do. And it works. It's just that it's really awkward. And speaking of the controller, when these first launched, the controller that was included in the box was prone to breaking. It was not the most sturdy controller that you could attach to this. And that was a real bummer. A lot of people complained about that. You can tell it's just not sturdy. But I will say, having the ability to load your own games onto this without having to hack it is pretty awesome, and they look and run great. And what's cool is that they've taken a lot of that feedback, and now since this has come out, they've released a new product where it's a larger full-size Commodore 64 with a working keyboard. So
Ah, so they have a version 2 of it. Interesting, interesting. And version 2 actually functions properly. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not going to talk about that much here because obviously we're covering the mini consoles, but it's something I'm going to talk about in the future. Here is the NES Classic Mini, which is a system that really elevated how popular these things would go. When these first came out, they were almost impossible to buy. They were being scalped all over the place. People were freaking out just trying to get one. And what this did really well is just
Yeah, and they're still hard to find today. Because a lot of the more you find are just knockoff clone things. You know, I love to see the catalog on this though.
include 30 classic NES games that people still love and want to play today. And this is where, you know, Nintendo has really the advantage over some of the other systems because these are stone cold classics and Nintendo is the first party developer for a lot of these. And so they are able to, you know, pack on 30 games here that people were just dying to play. And in truth, there's not really that much to complain about the NES Mini. I mean, all of these games run and play great. I think really the only complaint at the time, and it's completely valid, is that the controller cord is just painfully short. I don't know what Nintendo was thinking when they released this, but yeah, it's way too short.
Yeah, you might get a sticker or something. Oh, that is a weird hookup for the NES controller, so hopefully I can find one.
Short. But all of these games are still really fun to play even today, and so that's why it's as high on the list. Next up on my list is the Sega Genesis Mini, which includes 42 games, and like
Ooh, the Genesis. This is another classic console I enjoyed playing in when I was really young. Sure, we got Sonic on here. Nice, nice. Columns. I played Columns a lot on the Game Gear.
Nintendo, the Genesis benefits from a really strong collection of awesome first-party and third-party titles. And what you want from these consoles is a small, compact, and ready-to-go list of awesome games. And again, I feel like that this just nailed it. It just knocked it out of the park. But what makes this even better is that they released the Tower of Power, which I find to just be awesome and hilarious at the same time. So you have the CD attachment that would go on the bottom of it. You have the 32X, you have the adapter for the cartridge. I mean, it's just hilarious. I'm trying to imagine the sales meeting where they're like, yeah, you know, we're gonna do this.
Now, all this extra stuff to putting on here, that's just for looks. They were actually functioning like they used to. They just so you say, hey, look what I got. Pretty cool, but it function like they used to, though.
But we're gonna go all out. We're gonna release all the peripherals, the attachments for it. And you know, it's funny because they don't work. They're just there for show, but they're there for the Uber fans who want the ultimate, you know, Sega Mini console. Probably the only thing that most people would say is not great about this is that the North American version of the console only has the 3 buttons, which is accurate to how it originally released, but is disappointing to some, you know, especially fans who want the 6-button controller, which some games take advantage of. However, I believe Sega did sell an official 6-button controller for use in this, so I just don't happen to have one. But getting back to the games here, they're all really great. As a matter of fact, a couple months ago, we had a housewarming party, and one of the televisions, I just had this set up and running, and people would come up, grab a controller, and play a couple rounds of their favorite games, and it got used all night. People loved it. Next up is the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, which was a console that...
This was right number 2, huh? I thought the regular NES or Genesis would rank higher than what they did. Huh. TurboGrafx 16, okay. What's your say about
Not
it?
a lot of people remember. It wasn't super popular in North America, although I had a roommate in the 90s who had one, and I always thought that they were very cool. And so you can pick up the TurboGrafx 16 Mini that you see here, or you can also get the PC Engine. That's what it's called in Japan, and you see it here. Much different form factor. And this has a big selection of 58 games, although I believe it is counting some of those double depending on whether you're playing the TurboGrafx 16 version or the PC Engine version. But what's cool is that that selection of games does include...
Now, that is one of the problems with the, many classic consoles you get, especially with the knockoffs. They put a whole bunch of clones of the same games on there. Like, they might say you get 100 games, but in reality, half of them are clones, at least. So, yeah.
the original TurboGrafx 16, obviously the PC Engine, the CD-ROM games, as well as the Super Graphics. So a lot to choose from here. And that's why on the main menu down on the corner, you can swap between either showing TurboGrafx 16 games or PC Engine. And the TurboGrafx 16 is mostly known for having a lot of shooters, which is not a problem for me. I love playing me some shooters, but there is other variety here too. So don't think you're just gonna get shooters. And one of the things that I love is that they kept those turbo switches on the controller, which are very handy for shooters because you don't have to just constantly hammer that fire button. You can use the turbo
Built-in turbo.
buttons to do it for you. And it's worth knowing that there are some hidden games included on this, which I thought was really cool. So for instance, if you select the game Salamander on the PC Engine side, and then with the controller, hit the select button twice, you'll hear a bell sound and that unlocks Force Gear. If you hit the select button 3 times, that will unlock Twin Bee. And then if you hold down the select button and press 1 to start the game, you'll get an updated version of Salamander. Pretty cool little bonus there, and I'm not even sure if that's
nice.
all of the hidden games. They added some other nice little touches too. For instance, notice that when you select a game, it shows it.
That's pretty neat. They got hidden things on there. That's kind of cool.
Inserting the Hue card into the console. If it's a CD-ROM game, they've included the sound of a CD-ROM drive spinning up. And they even give you the option to play the game on a Turbo Express. That was the portable device. That's pretty hilarious. But really it's all about the games, and that's why this mini console is so high on this list, because there are just so many great games included on here, many of them that I've been playing for the first time. It's definitely an awesome mini console. I'm really digging it. And finally, my favorite mini console to date has to be the Super NES Classic Edition.
There we go. This is #1 choice. Do you guys agree with that? Or would you choose a different one? Oh, there's thoughts though on it.
I guess I just feel like Nintendo really knocked it out of the park with this one. They took what they learned from the NES Classic and they applied it here. So this comes with 21 games, and that includes a special release. So basically, Star Fox was a game that was originally canceled, but they decided to release it in this exclusively, which was a really cool selling point. And
Wasn't that the RPG version of it? I know Japan had a role-playing version of the Star Fox game that introduced a couple extra characters. That might have been it.
thankfully, this does come with longer controller cables, but honestly, I don't even use them because so many third-party companies made wireless solutions like you see here. So
Right.
8BitDo makes these fantastic wireless controllers that work with it great. But really, this is my favorite mini console for one simple reason, and that of course is the games. The Super Nintendo just had so many great games released for it, and most of them are included here. You've got Contra 3, Donkey Kong Country, Earthbound, F-Zero, Final Fantasy 6/3, you've got Kirby, Zelda, Mega Man X, Secret of Mana, Super Castlevania 4, Super Metroid, etc., etc. It just goes on and on and on. I mean, these are all games that people still want to buy, own, collect, and play today. And again, having them
Right.
all in this one.
And that makes sense, having a bunch of great games like that. Hi, Silver. Oh, hang on, we got an ad. I'll wait. Waiting for the ad. Waiting for the ad. All right. I'll wait for the ad to get over with. How you doing, Silver? You doing all right today? Thanks for hopping in and joining me today. I appreciate it. That looks interesting. That's like apparently the only mini console we've seen so far that companies have made actual peripherals for. Well, I'm happy to see you too. And hope your day gets better. I really do. Yeah, it's pretty neat though. Got a lot of great games on it. You got extra peripherals to pick up for this thing that company has made. Now, there's no wonder it's on the #1 on this tier list.
Small package. It's perfect. It's awesome. So those are my mini consoles ranked. I would love to know down in the comments what your rankings are, which ones you love. Do you have all of these as well? What consoles would you like to see made in the future? I know me personally, I would love to see a Commodore Amiga Mini as well as a MS-DOS Mini. I think that would be pretty amazing for them to do. Who knows? So love to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As always, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.
All right. And that was all 7 mini consoles ranked best and worst by MetalJesusRocks. That was entertaining. I kind of liked that.